Hey everybody, it's Kimmy K here again, and I wanted to review another found footage movie. The last one I did was The Coldness from 2024. This one's from 2018. A well talked found footage movie that that doesn't get in-depth reviews enough, in my opinion. The Butterfly Kisses from 2018, directed by Eric Christopher Myers. Now, this movie is basically a found footage movie in a found footage documentary movie. So you've got these two college students who want to do for their thesis a urban legend called Mr. Blink or Peeping Tom, who looks like a guy in a long black coat with a cane and a croup top hat, like Nosferatu looks like, kind of creepy guy. And apparently you can see this person if you're on a certain bridge in Maryland, and I think the bridge was in Maryland, yeah. And it's a very dark tunnel, and at the end of the tunnel, where lights back, when the light comes back in, if you can look without blinking an hour long, you can see this figure rising up. Now, nobody can keep their eyes an hour long open. So what they did was using the camera lens as their eyes. It doesn't blink. So at some point they look to the footage, and what they see is this character emerging from the end of the tunnel. And this Mr. Blink character is in his camera now. And these two students are Sophia Crane and Feldman. Feldman being the guy, Sophia being the director, and Feldman being the camera guy. And now he has Mr. Blink in his camera, but turn, which each turning off the camera and again on Mr. Blink, it's a blink. So with every blink, this monster creature, whatever it is, this demon comes closer and closer and closer until it's up your face and you die. That's basically the story. Now, this guy, Gavin York, a failed filmmaker who films weddings and that's it, because he needs to make some money, finds this box full of tapes in his parents-in-law's house. They want to move, but he finds those tapes. Now the weird thing is, how did those tapes get there, right? Because Sophia and Feldman didn't have anything to do with these people and that house. So apparently he goes through the tapes, he sees everything. We see the first scene that is with Sophia. She's saying, this is the last video I'm gonna make. Tell my parents, but I found a way to cheat Mr. Blink. I found a way. She takes this hammer, and she takes this frame, that she got an award for her first feature movie, and she's breaking it, and from there on it stops. The end result of that scene we're gonna see at the end. Now, Gavin York is convinced that his thing is real. Now, what he did is present this as a found footage movie, but and he hired a documentary crew to follow him around the making of, behind the scenes. And at some point they proceeded this as a character study, because they weren't actually interested anymore in the project, because they knew Everything was fake. Everything was edited by Gavin York. All the scenes that were in there was edited by. So, like the Blair Witch Project, you get to see every scene how stupid it is. Like just walking in the woods, walking in the woods. The only time it goes off is that the camera is off and then back on, and you see again walking in the woods. That's a found footage movie, and that can sometimes and that's the reason why a lot of people don't like found footage movies, because it can be tedious, can be boring. Blair Witch is my favorite found footage movie out there, but it is a very slow burn. You do have faster burned found footage movies, like I think Paranormal Activities one, or Grave Encounters, but I still like the slow burn ones that eventually end in a very unsettling and creepy ending. And this one has that too. This one has that too, but it's what this movie. So Gavin York he edited, and he only put the pieces in there that were interesting. So, like for example, that at when they're seeing Mr. Blink closer and closer, standing on a rooftop, standing on a another rooftop, standing on the street, then standing on a field, and then Feldman doing blink test number one, blink test number two, and you see this figure coming closer, 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 closer. He almost looks like the Babadook. And then at some point, the last blink, he does like this with his hat, and like I say, it looks like the Babadook. That's more like the Babadook. He had that, I think, that top hat too, what I can remember. So basically, this Blink guy is in his camera. Now, at some point, everybody's like, yeah, bullshit. He filmed those scenes. He hired actors. And he says, no, it's real, it's real, it's real. And nobody believes him because they think he hired actors. Also because of it's edited. You can see that every time something happens, oh, somebody finds a box, or oh, somebody finds Mr. Blink there, or there's Mr. Blink again, or something crucial happening. And that's not how found footage happens. Found footage is like talking, walking, and at some point you hear something, and then maybe you can find it. Oh, you see something, like that. But not edit, found something, edit, 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 edit. Mr. Blink. That's not how a found footage movie is made. So everybody's thinking he edited himself. He suspected of making this, that he made a movie of his own. Apparently through black and white movies, keep doing these student projects. They usually use black and white, like in the Blair Witch with the CB camera. They use black and white, and you can kind of mess with the like putting effects in there. It's easier to mess with. Now, at some point, these students, they go to this folklore guy, and he's explaining the folklore. And now everything what happened on that tape was 10 years ago, so that was a long time ago. All right. But then there are scenes like, and that's so it's very awkward. I kind of felt for the guy, but he was really really irritated. He was irritated very fast because every single one. So he was trying to find these two students. He couldn't find them. if it was all a trick, he wanted to find him, because one of the guys, Feldman, dies in one of these videos. He knows that he has 3 blinks left. He actually dumped the camera in the cellar with the batteries, and at some point when he awakened, the camera was there filming him. Mr. Blink was filming him. So he put mirrors on all sides so he can see somebody coming from there or there. And he has 3 blinks left. And he's like, "Argh!" After the 3rd blink, and he's like, oh, he's relieved. It's fake. And then out of nowhere, this character appears and attacks him, full face in the camera. You can't really make something out of it. But like I said, he hires like this guy. I mean, he puts a lot of money, all of their savings. I mean, his wife Amelia York is you see on her face, she's really holding it up because she knows they're losing money and bleeding money and gonna lose the house and their son. Their son even doesn't want to hug his father anymore. He asks for a hug. He doesn't want to. It's just very awkward, and the camera team keeps following him, and it's like, it's not because of this found footage shit anymore. It's because of him. They're doing a character study on him, how deranged he can be, and a few of these camera team members were actually kind of angry at the director of the camera team, because he said we owe it to him to help him, because you pushed him and kept pushing him. For example, there is one big chance that he gets a DJ radio station, and they want to give him 5 minutes. Now the DJ says to the camera guy, the director, the cameraman, why the fuck are you doing this? You know this is fake. You know this is because Gavin put the entire movie for 24 hours on butterflykisses.com, and you can see it for the upcoming 24 hours, and then it goes away. It's like a premiere, right? And hopefully he hopes that somebody will pick up on it and place a bid on it. That's what he hopes, because he's doing it for the money, the fame and the money mostly. Yeah. Now he goes on the radio, and the camera director, he's a bad guy. He says, listen, he wants something, he wants to be heard, he wants to get on the forum, give him these 5 minutes, but just don't, give him low blows. And the DJ, okay, I promise you, but I got an ace up my sleeve that can be good for you, me, us. Because the camera director, he has a sound man and a cameraman with him, and a director. So there were 3. He doesn't have a real ending. If this would end there, it doesn't have an ending to this, except the fact that he will be probably blasted for fraud, for being an asshole, for being somebody who leeches of people's demise, whatever. So what happens is, he gets on the radio, callers come in, everybody's blasting him for being an asshole, a fake, a leech, whatever you can call it. It's clearly fake. Then the special guest that the radio guy said was no other than Eduardo Sanchez, one of the 2 creators. Merrick was the second one. Dan Merrick? I'm not sure if Dan Merrick was the second one. He was the second one. There were 2 directors for the Blair Witch Project. Now, he wants to explain it as nicely as possible that he can, but he says that it's too unrealistic. The fact that every time when the camera goes on, there is something happening. Every time The camera is on, you see Mr. Blink. Every time the camera goes on, they find a box of evidence. It's always when the camera goes on that something is happening. So it's clearly being manufactured, and if it's real or not, it's manufactured, and that doesn't make it a found footage movie. A found footage movie would be him releasing all the footage on the internet. That's it. Okay, and that would be a movie. Now, of course, there's a lot of talking and rambling shit, and a lot of uh, bad audio and things in there, and even and then Eduardo Sanchez is saying that I'm not sure what your problem is, and if you have a problem, this is not good for your reputation. You should stop doing this because you're destroying your reputation. Now, of course, coming from Eduardo Sanchez, he's completely. I mean, before that, he went to this hall of paranormal investigators, hoping that they would investigate this, and he's like, nobody believes him. Everybody thinks it's a hoax. Everybody thinks it's a special effects. All these people, these weirdly enough fat people, who didn't look at all like paranormal. Now, I guess a fat guy or a fat woman can be a paranormal investigator, but the way it looked more like a screaming crowd than a paranormal investigators who believed in flying orbs. Uh, but that they couldn't believe. They couldn't believe. Because what he wanted was that a few of them would investigate the Peeping Tom legend. And nobody wanted to do it. And at some point, this old woman says, "Are you on medication?" And he's flipping and he's saying, "That's a very rude question." And then everybody starts to, talk. There's one woman who says, then, if it was about Bloody Mary, we would research it, but this is a hoax. This is a hoax. We're not going to put our time in it. And when he's going out, and then everybody's clapping that he's going away, so he's being humiliated time after time. Even when he talks with the folklore guy, where Sophia and Feldman talked with, he's telling the entire story 10 years ago, but he doesn't remember. He doesn't even remember these two people. He vaguely enough remembers it, but he writes book, The Weird Folklore of Mainland, Maryland, but he eventually says fake lore. It's fake lore. So yeah, that was a different kind of guy on the camera during Sophia and Feldman filming him than when Gavin York is filming him, because he gets irritated, Gavin York, because of the fact that he basically is being lying to the people, and eventually he's just looking through his book and he's like, you got real good fucking stories here, like the stone mill. Oh, and then the guy wants to quit, and he says, how do you set this up? How do you set this up? He gets blasted everywhere, and that's what I mean with the movie. The movie is very, very, very awkward at times. You jump from the scenes that Sophia and Feldman made, and then you jump into the scenes of Gavin York being filmed by the camera crew, the other camera crew that's making a documentary about him making this movie and editing this movie. He said it himself. He edited the movie and took out the longer parts, but he presented it as a found footage movie. Now he goes to this soundstage studio. Everything is costing him money. He barely can pay it anymore. And the soundstage guy says, one of these guys says, something weird is happening. Every time they do a new take, it says a sort of Morse code says Blink. Now another guy is saying that's fake. They just put it in there. But then the other guy who said it's Blink, he says, but that would be too complicated to do. I mean, constantly, you know, putting putting that Blink Morse code in there, that would be way too complicated. And the other guy's like skeptic is saying, I don't believe it. I mean, his own camera team doesn't believe him. They're actually at this point just making a study about him and his deranged mind of basically completely collapsing, and the fact that he made a spoof, basically made a bad edited, maybe even filmed by him, found footage movie. So that he was on, you know, that he was on the movie set filming Sofia and Feldman. Now, at some point, he gets home. His wife left him. She's taking the kids because they had this private little fund for their son Carter, and he took all the money. Like I said, it gets really, really, really. It's not really scary. That's the weird part. It's not scary until the very end, the last 10 minutes, because his wife leaves him. He just stole all of the savings of his little boy, and the director, you know, comes and hugs him. Listen, and he feels guilty because he knows that on that DJ radio host that they were gonna put. He didn't know that they were gonna put Sanchez on, but he knew they were gonna blast him. He knew that he's gonna be blasting everywhere, and he was like completely. He was completely done. He was down and out. Now, what happens after this, and that's a spoiler, is I gave a little bit away that Feldman gets killed, and there's a news report about this boy found that the boy Feldman, this film student Feldman, died under mysterious circumstances. His eyes scratched out, and multiple scratches and things like that, and then probably not self-inflicted, and that they said it was murder. And then the director of the camera team starts to think, okay, this is weird. They get like tapes of him, and they can't find him anywhere. There is one point when they find him and he's on the tunnel, also using the camera as an eye, and he says, every time you blink, it's not that he comes closer, you come closer to him. And then you hear him running away because they're like, he's completely lost his mind, and they want to call his wife, but they don't have her number. Then he runs straight through the tunnel, and they don't want to follow because they don't have a light, and they see something at the end of the tunnel. They don't know what the fuck it is. It's somebody, but they don't know who. So everything is starting to take place here, that it's getting weirder and weirder. He eventually sent a package to these guys, and apparently the sound man who found the blink said, is Gavin with you? I thought Gavin would be with you here because he definitely wants to hear this, that there was a larger piece of soundtrack that was more disturbing and couldn't be made by these Sofia and Feldman, and by Gavin York. So apparently shit is starting to get real. the Mr. Blink or the Peeping Tom legend is starting to get realer and realer with the moment. He sends a package to the director of the camera team, and he opens it and he finds the uh, the diary of Feldman. Then he has his own diary, and in that diary there's a hotel pass in there, a motel pass. Now, what happens is they go to his motel because they know he's there. They open it. They're all cameras, like these, what are called those little cameras? Can't recall the name of those guys. They're like this, all those little cameras all over the place. He opens the bedroom door, and the other guy says, "We gotta get out of here. We gotta get out of here." Why? And he opens the door. Oh, shit! And then we see pictures of him that he's lying dead, naked, with his eyes scratched over his eyes and blood over his body and in the bathtub, and that it clearly looks like it wasn't really self-inflicted. His eyes were like white, but in a way that completely white, yeah, open, because he didn't want to blink. He was killed by Mr. Blink because he did the same shit that Feldman and Sophia did with the camera at the end of the bridge, and he wanted to take the test himself, and he was killed by Mr. Blink or the Peeping Tom. And now this entire ordeal between this camera crew guy, this director wants to put out this documentary out in the world about Gavin York and these found footage edited scenes, and that somebody else can make something of it. So he's now thinking, oh well, let's make some money from this, right? While the other guys are like, yeah, but that's the thing you just didn't want to do. You wanted to help the poor sap. Now he's dead. And they found a box of separate. They found all the footage that was found footage, so the unedited stuff too, and they took it without the police knowing, because the police would have taken it. Now the entire thing is, at some point they ask the director, "Do you believe the Peeping Tom is real?" And he's like, he can't say. I think he thinks it may be real. So, it's weird that he died, right? It's weird that he got the diary, that he definitely edited the thing, but he wanted to make a movie out of it. But the thing is that we get that last scene, which I told you, with Sophia in the beginning, when she says, "Tell my parents this and this and that." She takes, "I know how to cheat, Mr. Blink. Even somebody told me that she saw Mr. Blink, and she looked at the sun long enough that her eyes burned and she got blind, but she still could blink. But he never touched her. So I'm gonna do something that I'm gonna cheat Mr. Blink, and he can't get to me." Now this is a disturbing scene. So she takes the plaque that she won for her first movie that Feldman didn't won, and Feldman was kind of jealous about. And she takes a hammer, smashes it, takes a shard of glass, and you see her basically slicing her eyes out, and then you see her screaming with her eyes out and blood all over her face. Ah! And that's the end of the movie. Directed by Eric Christopher Myers. So, I mean, first of all, is the movie real? Is the legend real? Is Mr. Blink real? It appears to be real, because these people the death of Feldman was reported, and then I'm guessing that she wanted to call. Sophia wanted that her parents would be informed that they could get to her because she just cut out her eyes and she's bleeding like a stuck pig, so they could get her to the hospital, but her eyes are lost because they're just carved out, you know. But so she can blink, but still never be killed by Mr. Blink. And that's the only way you could get to him. And then, of course, you hear some like a monster sound, and you see him not getting to her. So he was really close by, really nearby. And the reason why he went after Feldman, he went after her, is because they both were they both handled the cameras, and she had the tapes. So he said, if he finishes with me, you'll be next. And it was true. He killed Feldman, and then he went after Sophia. But Sophia, trying to open her eyes, doing like this, and then that one eye, it's almost impossible. I mean, you can't. Yeah, the only way you can do that is that somebody tapes your eyes open. That's like in that movie. That stupid movie. I always thought that was stupid. A Clockwork Orange, where the guy is basically they're trying to reform him as a good person, and they're putting these awful things on screen, and his eyes open, taped open, and always putting water in it, because the reason why it hurts is because it dries out. But if you put water in it, it doesn't hurt as much, and you can keep your eyes open. So that's a way to keep your eyes open for an hour. If somebody constantly, if somebody tapes your eye like this open with tape, then put drops of water, saying, yeah, water, drop, drop, drop. Okay, after 5 minutes, water, drop, drop, drop. I mean, like that, you can keep your eyes open for an hour. I think so. Because for eye surgery, they need to, like the cataract, take the peel of the eye, pretty disgusting. They need to do that the same way. They need to have the eye open. They do put some pain killing, some painkiller in there, but they still are constantly putting water in the eye, because like I said, it hurts because it dries out. But like I said, was Mr. Blink real? That's the entire thing about the movie. Apparently, yes, I guess so. Or Gavin York killed himself. And Feldman was found dead. And he didn't want to kill himself. So, you know what I mean? And it's like after the entire movie, which is constantly him being laughed at, portrayed, made a fool of, just losing his wife, his child, his house, living in this filthy motel. The guy was beaten down. He still worked on the project, and he wanted to experience it himself with the same kind of camera. He had the same camera that Feldman had, and he saw him and went straight to him. And the camera team saw someone or something at the end of the tunnel and said, "What the fuck is that? What fun? Let's go back now." And because it didn't have a lot of battery anymore, and the lights went out, and it was dark as shit out there. So so I'm guessing, what's my conclusion here, that Peeping Tom was real, but that Gavin York, it was stupid of him to edit it, and he would have done. I think he would have. He had tapes. He could sell. He could publish those tapes like the Blair Witch Project, and say it's real footage. And then people still, okay, yeah, it's a found footage movie, it's not real, but still send it as a real. And with that ending with the girl cutting her eyes out, it's pretty creepy, you know? And something following them constantly, but pieces still in there, like they're talking to each other, not edited out, you know what I mean? Then he probably had a good found footage movie on his hands, but he wanted to make it his own, and he wanted to put his brand on it, and that's his biggest mistake. That was his mistake. He shouldn't edited it and put it on the world like that. And then later on, of course, things start to get real, and things start to get realistic. I mean, start to, the Peeping Tom legend becomes more realer than we thought it was. More, and it ends on a note that the director, when asked, "Do you believe in the Peeping Tom?" He couldn't answer the question. He was looking at it. I think he believed in the Peeping Tom after seeing all that, seeing Gavin in the bathtub, seeing those tapes. I think he believed. I think he believed. Uh, so the pros of this movie. Okay, let's start with the pros. You've got an interesting piece here because you've got this found footage, found footage documentary movie basically. The found footage is the found footage he found with Sophia and Feldman. The found footage documentary is with Gavin editing it and being documentized by the film crew, the crew, and then the documentarians filming him. So you got a mishmash of everything. Now this is special. You got people like found footage movie critics, and I think these are real found footage movie critics. These people were real because you had another guy who directed I think a found footage movie. You got Eduardo Sanchez in there, so there were real people used in this movie to basically make this a full documentary style found footage, that they were really blasting him and saying he's a fool and this and that, it is not real. And the decline of Gavin, you can see that he gets more and more desperate and irritated at the end, especially with the group of paranormal investigators. And he goes out the exit. Oh no, this isn't the exit. It's because it doesn't have orbs. He's angry because they don't believe him, but they do believe in flying orbs. So he's like, okay, you know what I mean. And I like that, but there's another side to it. I like the ending. I thought it was really disturbing that they don't show him the entire body, but they show the legs in the bathtub, an empty bathtub, the body and the face. It's full of scratches and other wounds. That he basically met Mr. Blink, probably met Mr. Peeping Tom, and that the camera documentary crew started to realize, especially the director, that it's actually maybe real. But then at the end, he wanted to give this to the highest bidder because he became Gavin Scott at the end. He has something like, let's just put it out there, somebody will pay for it, and they'll do what they want with it. because they still didn't have an ending. So they wanted, I think he wanted to get something out of it, and that's kind of disgusting. He wasn't, if you call Gavin York disgusting, then the director is disgusting. But that scene with that girl cutting her eyes out was pretty disturbing, pretty disturbing. Going such measures to do that, yeah. But if that's the only way to live, being blind for the rest of your life, the and it's unique. It's really unique. It's something that I've never seen before in a found footage. I don't think so, because I've seen a lot of found footage movies and I can't really remember seeing something like that. The cons are that, like I said, is a little bit the fact that they make this Gavin York guy such an asshole, such a dipshit, and you think the director of the camera crew is behind him, and he is kind of, but he's also kind of wanting to have an ending and to sell his documentary. I felt that way in a way, and it got tedious in a way that he the crumbling down of Gavin York was very unsettling, awkward in a way. Sometimes you couldn't, you're like, oh man, shit, don't make a fool of yourself. Stop it, just stop, let it go. Save your marriage, do wedding videos again and try to find something new, but stop it. I was feeling like that. Just stop it, Gavin. Just stop it. Save your marriage, your child, your wife, your beautiful wife, beautiful kid. Do wedding videos and regroup and maybe come back with a new idea at the off season when there's no weddings, because it was wedding time, so he could have made more money. And now I felt that feeling, and it wasn't a pleasant feeling. It wasn't a good feeling, and that's what I got out of this. That it didn't felt right. It gets a 5.1. It gets a 5.5 for me, because it's a unique gimmick, but still that awkwardness, and that I'm almost yelling to Gavin in the screen, stop doing this. You're making a fool out of yourself. You're losing everything you ever loved and had. And he still kept going. And that's just that's the biggest part of the movie, the insanity of a guy going from normal to insane, from, let's say, desperate to insane. And then eventually that the peeping Tom legend may in fact be real, and that's a surplus at the end. So there you go. Should I recommend it? Yes, of course you should watch it. It's very complicated in a way, but it's a good watch. It's something new. You don't think they ever made something like this again. I don't think it's for everybody, because it's not really a horror movie, unless the last 10 minutes become horror. When Gavin, they find Gavin, they find they see the girls, the eyes cut out. That's a horror movie. Feldman being killed, but the rest of the movie is actually a person going from just hopeless to find something to insane and losing it all, and that's basically what it is. And it's a very hard thing to watch, to be honest. Yeah, it's not an easy watch. So with that being said, subscribe, like, comment, say what you think about the movie, and I see you again for the next one.